do the sex.
Today's Locker Room Talk and Chats topic is subspace exploration, one woman's journey into the heart of BDSM. It is Kinktober, folks. And if you've been with me for any time now, you know that I have thoroughly explored the femdom experience, cocks in cages, women caging cocks, controlling men. Well, this is actually in all 3 years, 3+ years of this podcast, this is the first time I've really invited on a true submissive, if you will, a woman who went from being your pretty average Jane, a mom, a mother, a worker, just, normal vanilla lady, to a real submissive, an experienced submissive. And I'm not just talking about she takes a couple spankings. I'm just at our interview today with my very good friend Carrie is going to take you deep into what it means to become a submissive who really is submissive and has explored that power exchange thoroughly. And I have witnessed some of it. Just saying, we will get to that. She's actually been mentioned in some past podcasts, but you're going to have to go back and listen to all of my episodes to find the little Easter eggs. But first, before we dive in, so this is Carrie. If you are a listener, you can head over to my YouTube channel at Talk Sex with Annette, and you can see Carrie's beautiful face and mine. Carrie is here today. She is, you are a submissive at heart, though I know you have now dipped your toes in other experiences. But can you tell my listeners just a little bit more about you, who you are, what do you want to share?
Yeah, just right now I'm living my best single life, but I've gone through this journey in this past 6 years that was incredible, and it was profound, and it changed me. It changed the way I think about the world around me and about myself. And man, I'm just kind of really excited to share my perspective, basically.
Right, because it was a journey, and I actually don't even know all of the details. And Carrie and I are very good friends, so a lot of this will kind of be my first time really hearing the step-by-step process of how she went from being vanilla, like maybe some of you are, although I don't think all of you. I know I got a good following of people who aren't. And so I think for Kinktober this time, usually I kick it off with a lot of male chastity stuff and dominating men stuff. But this is going to be a new take. So if you are curious about what it really is like to be a submissive, if you think you might have a little bit of a submissive in you, if you want to explore that a little bit, this is going to be a great episode for you. Or if you're looking for a sub, this would be a great episode to give to your potential sub. So, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about sex and BDSM, being submissive. I think the best way to start this episode is just to start at the beginning. You are not a submissive yet. It is 6 years ago?
6 years ago.
And you moved to Portland. I know that backstory. So she moves to Portland. Go.
I moved to Portland and spend a few weeks getting a lay of the land, and then I decide I want to start dating. And in my last relationship, which was pretty vanilla, I'd always kind of been drawn and intrigued by kink, but didn't know how to pursue it, and also was just felt like it was deeply wrong. So got here, and it was still in the back of my mind, but was swiping through people on Bumble and came across this man who happened to mention in his profile, he was looking for a woman who was open and kink friendly. And so I actually engaged with that because I was you said kink, I'm really curious. And so that kind of sparked a conversation, and it was pretty great. We planned to meet pretty quickly, and we went on our first date, and wow, it was pretty incredible. We went to McMiniman's, which is always a great first date spot, and we sat down, and he was talking about a lot about BDSM and kink. And he was talking about it in a way that was like so genuine and warm, and he made it feel a lot less scary. And so this was the first person I'd ever really spoken to about kink, about BDSM, and man, he was just such a gentleman, and he made it seem so approachable, and was just really respectful. Yeah, so I was like, tell me more.
Right. So first date, what is he telling you about it though? Just out of curiosity, if you had been vanilla and he made it feel comfortable, like how does he bring this up in a way that you're not like, whoa, buddy, we're on
Oh, sure. He was talking about, he asked me kind of about my experience and what I was curious about, because I had asked him about the kink portion. And he was talking about some of his past experiences, his kink experiences, some scenes he'd done with some women he had dated before.
What did he tell you? Do you remember the first scenes he shared with you that piqued your interest and didn't freak you out?
It was talking about, he mentioned like bondage, and that's always appealed to me, and we can get more into that. Like some bondage scenes. There's other words for this, but basically he called it forced orgasms. That's what we called it.
Forced orgasms. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love someone to force me to have an orgasm. That is just not something that has ever,
Yeah. So he was describing some of those, and I was just enthralled. I was like, oh God. I was just like all worked up. I was like, tell me more.
So he intrigues you. It's your first date. Do you go home and taste did you get a little tasty poo?
I did. And it was...
Now, wait. Before we go on, because I do know I've got a large male listenership, do not take this conversation as on your first date, tell her about your BDSM experience and try and get her to come home. You will fuck yourself up. Like, don't, just to be clear, this was a very specific situation that just happened to go right. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Right people, right time.
Right people, right time.
Trying to keep men on the right track on their first dates.
Like, I felt chemistry, and he felt very respectful through the conversation. I felt like he was reading kind of my body language, whether I wanted it more or less. Yeah, he was just very aware. So that made it very comfortable.
So he was like, come back to my Casbah.
I actually invited him back to my place.
That is not very submissive of you.
No, it wasn't. I was so new to it. I was like, what is this? So that was great, because that night I squirted for the very first time. He made that happen for me. And I didn't even realize my body could do that. Like, I'd seen it in porn before, and I was like, what is really going on there? I wasn't even sure it was a real thing.
Ironically, at least probably a year later, we would squirt together.
We sure did.
Here's back to the story. So he made you squirt. Did he do any new BDSM-y things? Like, how did you start to?
Yeah, not on that first date. It was on the second date.
How did he make you squirt then?
Okay, it was just at the end of the while we were playing, he was like, let's try this, and he went and got a towel from my bathroom and put it underneath my bottom.
Thoughtful.
And I wasn't even completely sure what was going on, and so then he put his fingers in and started like pulling down, and I was just like, and it almost feels like you're going to pee.
Yes, it does.
And I was like fighting against it, and he was like, just relax, just let go. And he was a paramedic and a firefighter, so I was like, you know what? If I pee, I pee. He's into it. Like, just why not? Just
He's
like
used to it. He's dealt with
Right?
bodily fluids. Fuck it.
I don't feel a sense of shame about what's about to happen, because he's making something happen.
Right.
So yeah, just like let go, and was able to squirt. But that was the first date. So
Right.
it was the second date where things really got interesting.
Okay, let's get to the second date. So the first date, he makes you squirt, your high five, you send him on his way. Not
Yeah.
submissive at all. But then you talk and
Yeah.
he's like, and you're like, yeah.
Yes. After I leave the next morning, he sends me a picture and says, so much more exploring to do. And it's this steamer trunk at the end of a bed, and its lid is open, and it's got these crisscrossed, like kind of red ropes. And I see like floggers and riding crops and a cane tucked into it. And then it's deep below, and I see things I don't understand in that trunk. I'm like, I don't know how that functions, but it was like, as I come to find out, there's like anal hooks and butt plugs and big dildos and all kinds of toys in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so as soon as he sent that photo, I was like, oh my God.
And you weren't intimidated by it. You were just curious.
I was curious. And again, he just made it feel really safe, and like he was matching my pace and wasn't pushing me into anything. He was just like, you seem curious about this. Here's this information.
Right. So things I want to point out, because I think in these podcast episodes, I think I need to do a better job of pointing out things that work. I love the word curiosity. When you approach anything with curiosity instead of skepticism or judgment, you open yourself to more possibilities. I love that you bring up security, especially when it has to do with sex or new experiences, anything BDSM. The first thing you have to do is lay the ground for people to feel secure and safe, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just putting out those words, I love them. So you set up the second date, and where did you meet for that?
So we went to his house.
Just started right there.
Yeah. Okay. So we arrive at his house, and so we go into his bedroom, and we're kissing and undressing, and then he kind of like turns, like we're kissing up against the side of the bed, and then he turns me around and like bends me forward over the bed, and then he puts some cuffs around my wrists and my ankles, and then he's got this beautiful like deep wood colored 4-poster bed, and he has straps that he pulls out, and he like ties me in. And
wait, did he ask you ahead of time what you were comfortable? Was there did you have a conversation ahead of time?
We did kind of talk about
what you were interested
what I
in.
was interested in.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was also hard to tease out for me, because it's like being, passing a restaurant outside on the street and somebody saying, what do you want to order from this restaurant? And I'm like, I don't know what they have on the menu. I don't know what's possible.
Right.
So he was asking me, and I think he was probing to see what I might, because I didn't know how to articulate what I wanted,
right,
because I was so unfamiliar. So I had definitely expressed an interest in being restrained. And so yeah, like cuffs out on like pulled, and he, even before he tightened it, he just like took a moment. He was like, do you have any shoulder injuries? And I was like, no.
Oh, thoughtful.
And then
I
he
like that.
quickly like and firmly, very sexily like pulled it, and like a very taut, and it, wow. And then like it did the same with my legs, but so that they were spread, and the cuffs were really soft, and it's not like they were handcuffs, they were really soft. So that like felt like a nice little hug and secure, and it started to feel like being like really kind of held, and that like felt really nice. So yeah, he took out his flogger and was working with that, and his right.
All right, wait. So you've never, let's not just skip up.
Okay.
Oh, now he's flogging her.
Yeah.
So had you ever experienced impact play before?
Never.
But you were curious.
I was very curious.
And did he ask you what to start with, or were you just like?
He, no. I think he was feeling it out. He was. I noticed he started out with all the softer things, and was working his way up. And he seemed, again, just very like focused on me and my reaction. It didn't ever feel like he was doing it for his pleasure. It felt like he was.
Do you know if he was a sadist? That doesn't sound very sadistic. There are different types of doms.
Sure,
like
yeah.
sadists really just love to hurt people. And then there are doms who just love, I guess that it's not really about just hurting someone, it's just about the power play.
God, that's a great question. I need to reflect on that more.
So the first time do you remember the first time you were struck? You experienced the impact, what your thought was, what your feeling was?
I was really into it, because as somebody who struggles with attention, and then also, sometimes you get into a sex space, and I think, I don't know if it, for me, sex felt so heavy that it felt like a performative space too. And this was taking that away because it was slowly like getting some genuine reaction from me. And so I'll also tell you that as he started to kind of up the impact into something like the thuddy things, like the big kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The floggers, the thuddy floggers, started to move into like riding crops and paddles, something a little more sharp. So then he took out his magic wand and was like putting it between my legs. So kind of starting to mix some like pleasure and a little bit of pain. And so that felt really good. And it was, again, keeping my brain really present in a way that it was like helping me enjoy the pleasure and be present and in my body, because like my brain couldn't really escape anywhere else, because like, be here now, something's happening to your body.
So it was really mixing that, bringing in the pleasure and pain. Do you know, like clearly from those beginning days of just trying out the different types of impact play? So there, just for people who haven't done this, there are different types of impact implements. So there are floggers that can be a lot lighter. Then you can get floggers that are heavier and cause kind of more pain. You can, riding crops are going to be sharper kind of pain. And then bamboo, which is,
Oof. I hate to love it and love to hate it.
I do not love it at all. Yeah. So I want to ask you what kind of impact and instruments do you like the most?
I can occasionally, my pain tolerance changes from day to day. So it really depends. Am I well rested? Am I well hydrated?
Emotionally, I think that's an important thing to share with people too. I think people don't realize, like, people think you have one kind of pain tolerance, and it really, and as a woman who's highly tattooed, I can tell you, and has done months and months and years of tattoos, like, it is strange what you can take and what you enjoy maybe one day versus the next day can change drastically. And I don't know if this is the way it is for you. So I am a switch. I'm like a hardcore switch. I might be, I'm pretty half and half, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen me more as a dominant than a submissive, I would say. But when I have been in the submissive role, one thing that I think is important for me is to work up, like start the pain low and then work it up to whatever it is I feel like I can take.
Yeah.
Is that, or do you like to just go hard? Are you a go hard or go home girl?
It depends on the day. I might be able to just go really hard, and some days I really have to work into it and keep it just low. But I think something about being present really taught me is how much fear is built into pain. Because I noticed in the beginning, like when we were first establishing, how much in the moment when the impact play started to build, how much I'd kind of be bracing and tightening up, like ready for the next impact. But in the moments after, it would be this impact, and then your body would kind of buzz from it, and just to like let go into that sensation and enjoy it, like your endorphins going after that impact, and really learning to let go of the fear of like what's coming next and truly be present. And that's like kind of what started to change across my life, is like not living in the fear, really being in the present, instead of anticipating the next shoe dropping.
So at what point you have this first experience, and so he in this first experience, he like fucking straps you up to fucking say, I know the bed. I know exactly how she was stripped up. And you experience the impact play.
Yeah.
He mixes in the pleasure. That's your first experience. I assume it ends in sex. Were there any new experiences in that first play session?
Let's see. Squirted again. It was definitely the impact play, and different positions. And this is where I'm going to say I dated this man for over like close to 6 years, and never a repeat performance. He was a Picasso of pleasure and pain in the bedroom.
He really was creative.
He was so creative. was so
and
great.
creativity and sex go together well. I don't think people get creative enough in the bedroom. So, so you had sex, you did some squirting, then you had P&V sex. Was that always part of your dynamic?
Yes.
Always. It always ended in that. All right. So you get done, you high five and go home, or do you stay the night?
I stayed the night. Yes.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's sweet. But he was a firefighter and left at like 4 a.m. for a shift. So he left me with a magic wand and was like, please masturbate in the morning.
And did you?
I did. I sure did. I sure did.
I sure did.
I want to make sure the sheet smelled like me when he got back home.
You marked your territory. All right. So you leave and you are sitting in that space of like, what just happened? This is your first experience. What was that like, the aftermath?
Wow. I couldn't wait to have more and explore more. I just felt that's when I kind of started looking at toys and looking what I could have and starting to be more curious about my own pleasure. Like, how can I touch my body? And at the time he was starting to like give me instructions. He's like, I want you to have at least 2 orgasms a day. Like, want you to get to know your body.
He virtually gave you assignments. So it went hard quick with the two of you. He was like, all right, so this is going to continue and this is how it continues while we're apart.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had some really good chemistry and it felt great.
Yeah. So at this point, did you start looking into like, at what point did you go, I think I'm a submissive? Or was there a moment where you're like, I wonder if I would like to be a dom? Or, I mean, where are you? Like, you were vanilla.
I was so vanilla. And I think like I was wading into this and I didn't know the labels or anything. I just knew I was like really into this thing. And I think like we were both non-monogamous and he was dating other women. And then sometimes, as you know, sometimes other women would join us. And I remember seeing a conversation where he was... I remember seeing a conversation where he was telling a woman, I'm dom and Carrie's more submissive. And I was like, what's that?
So that's when you, so all right. Was that well into the relationship? At what point did you just keep kind of doing this thing with him? And then one day he says that?
I think it was several months into the relationship when I had seen those terms. And at the same time, he'd encouraged me to go to this women's group that met at a local sex club. And it was for women who were swinger, poly, non-monogamous, ethically, just very sex positive space.
I mean, we'll plug it right now. If you are in Portland, it is called, now it's called
Broadcast, and it's open to anybody who would feel at home in a femme space.
I may go on occasion. We may go on occasion. Yes. You have this first date. You go home. He's giving you assignments. I assume you're getting together how frequently?
At that point, I think it was about twice a week. So.
And what is he adding in? Like you're experiencing all the different types of impact. What are some other things you start to experience? And at what point, because clearly there's a point where other women are starting to be invited in, it becomes more of not a one-on-one situation. And was that hard for you? Like when you realized that was going to happen, like.
Okay. Both great questions. So your first question was talking about how things more got introduced. We would keep going on dates and then he would do something different. Like one time he had a remote controlled vibrator in me, and as I was ordering dinner he was like messing with it and I was just like struggling to keep a face to order while he was playing with that. And then another time we went and saw a movie and it was my first time like with a butt plug, and it was like the extra large weighted butt plug, and man, I really felt that. But you know what, that made anal like the beginning of having anal sex just so much more comfortable, a lot more pleasurable. So that was great. So we were having dates and doing little ideas. We'd go to maybe like Lovers or, some of the local sex shops and kind of like shop for things together. Or he'd ask me what was making me curious. And then we visited some of the local sex clubs several times. I remember this moment. We were at the sex club, and man, he was kind of pushing me up against a window where this couple was playing in the bedroom on the other side of the window, and he was kind of like rubbing up against me, and I kept on wanting to, like, hide my face so that these people didn't see me staring at them, and he kept on like moving my head, and he was like, "I want you to watch while I touch you," and I was like, "Whoa, okay." It was just really great. He was always doing something fun and new and interesting, and again kept on asking me like what my desires were and kind of teasing those out in just a way that felt really like safe for me.
Mm-hmm. What was the first time you experienced what is known as subspace, and could you explain to people what subspace is?
Okay, yeah, I think it was several times in when we had impact play, and he had a hard point in his bedroom, and if you don't know what it was, it's just like a really intense. It's like a hook you can put in, and he had it hidden behind a smoke alarm. So he had that in his bedroom, and I was suspended from that, and he had Velcroed something around my thigh, and it was in it he tucked the magic wand, so it was like right against my bits, and
Pussy.
Pussy. My pussy. It was right
bits.
there.
My bits. I like that.
And yeah, so I was standing up and he was going, and man, I just reached this buzzy, beautiful space where I'd kind of let go of like, I don't know, all the, like, again, the performative elements of sex. And I was like really in my pleasure, and he was really serving my pleasure. Like he got off from like giving. So, like very focused on me. And again, he provided a very non-judgmental space. He was a paramedic, so I wasn't too worried about letting go or anything too terrible happening. It was a great foundation on which to explore. And yeah, so I was entering that subspace, and again, very just like buzzy, beautiful, freeing. And afterward, when we'd play like that and I would reach that like subspace where it's just, I tend to go a little nonverbal. So I need instruction, like go here, helping, do this next thing. But yeah, and then like hold afterward, because you really, it's that oxytocin that's really going after an orgasm and that kind of experience, and like really making the most of it as it's in your bloodstream.
At what point were you like, okay, I'm submissive? Like that's my thing. This is who I am.
I think it was pretty early on after I'd seen that conversation, and I was like, and I was looking it up, and I was like, oh, that's me. And then after that, he had sent me, around that time, he'd also sent me that, what is that, a BDSM test that I think everybody takes. And it was like one of the highest rated things was just being being submissive.
And I mean, by the time I met you, you really had a pain tolerance and interest that was definitely beyond mine.
Yeah.
And was that something that built over time? And was that something that you desired, or that you just how did that happen for you?
That was something I really played with a lot, was kind of exploring the edges of pain and pleasure. And I really liked taking it to the edge, because I think the more I took it to the edge, the more I felt I was in this really buzzy subspace that felt really beautiful and freeing to me. And you know what? I want to circle back onto the question you had about other women. And I think coming from monogamous relationships, that was, it was kind of always like, well, he's been with her for several hours and I haven't heard, and is everything okay? And oh my God, am I going to lose this amazing thing? A lot of that insecurity playing. But very early on, he had given me the ethical slut. And so I had read that, and I love that he gave that to me so early, because I felt like it really set the foundation of understanding the dynamic that could exist there, that like you won't be... There's so many beautiful things in that book, but it really kind of opened my mind to this idea of like romance and pleasure, it doesn't have to look the way we've always been told it has. This is a really beautiful way it can look. And
right. I'm going to fast forward though, just to be clear. Like, I met the two of them, and you say that I was on the dating apps, and I met both of them. You say I matched with him first, but I swear to God, I remember it as matching with both of you and talking to you first.
okay,
Let's talk about it. We're gonna look. We are going to problem solve a problem we have here.
okay. I felt like I had seen you on Bumble, and I remembered you because you had these like beautiful pictures that were mostly white, but then you had your black hair, and I think you were in yoga poses. And then I'm not sure that like you and I actually
So maybe I
matched,
talked to
and
him.
so you talked to him, and then
But then we did match.
Then we
at
did
some
match,
point.
yeah,
So
at
maybe
some
I looked for you afterwards because he shared a picture of you, and then we met. And my interest was primarily with Carrie. I mean, clearly, it was like clear. And so I was never in the situation where you were never in the situation with me where I was alone with him. He was in the situation, like you and I spent time alone together. But I know because could ask about that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
yeah.
I mean, he was fine and good and everything, but I don't like the girlies. So just to clarify, but there was this dynamic. But for you guys, mostly it would be him. He would meet women, and
Yeah.
But you guys came out together to meet me.
Yeah.
And did you do that typically with other women?
We did a handful of times. Yeah. I think I was also trying to match with women at the time, just very embracing the idea of ethical non-monogamy and trying to find people who would kind of fill more of my emotional bucket. And so like I was kind of meeting people like that, but it wasn't a Venn diagram of people who would be good for play for all three of us, as opposed to like meeting my needs over here.
Yeah, that's hard. That's
Yeah.
a hard thing to do. So along with impact play, being a submissive, there's more to being submissive than just impact play. We obviously have focused on that also because I know that was kind of a big part of your journey. But can you talk about other aspects of being a submissive that you experienced and enjoyed and discovered on your path? Because not all submissives even enjoy impact play, correct?
Sure. Yeah. No, there's what a spectrum of experiences you can have as a sub. Yeah, like he'd occasionally kind of remind me to do things. Like it was really nice kind of caring stuff you tend to hear about like doms who really take care of their subs. So like, have you had water today? Have you eaten? How did you sleep? Are you taking care of yourself? Yeah, and kind of pushing me sometimes toward my goals. Like he's like, I would like you when I was struggling with my work, he's like, before we see each other again, I want to see 10 applications that you've sent out to new jobs.
Right.
And I was like, okay.
Right. So doing some of that self-growth kind of thing. When you brought a third person in, what did that look like? You being submissive?
It was a lot of like him directing, and I think it was so important for me because I think a lot of the women knew that they were coming into an established relationship. I didn't want them to feel like there was competition or I was going to be jealous. It was like a lot of my focus was on the woman whenever she came, like on her pleasure and trying to, because I thought like he had created such a beautiful thing for me, and I was able to access that space with him, and I wanted other women to experience that too. Like, so, I mean, that helped mitigate some of my feelings of like, like the jealousy that can creep in sometimes. That really helped it. But like in the bedroom, and there was other women, I think the submissive side really came out as like, he was kind of directing the scene and kind of taking a more dominant role. Like, if we ventured into in any kind of play, really, he was the one that was the director of it.
Well, a lot of people talk about how submissives also have power in the relationship. How would you say that showed up in your experience? And did you feel powerful in your experience?
I think I did, because I felt like whatever was happening in the bedroom, I had the final say. I could say, like, I don't want this to happen anymore. I was the one who was giving permission for this to happen. And I was giving that permission because I felt so safe. Like the trust that has to happen to be that vulnerable, to be tied up and let yourself go and let yourself have these multiple orgasms where you're like, I might squirt, I might pee. I don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You felt like you, in the end, had the final word, even though he was the one directing.
Yes.
So it did make you feel powerful.
It did. And you know what? I wrote down this little thing that I had read. The surrender in it felt very peaceful, and kind of even my own control in the situation, that it felt like shelter. It felt like a safe shelter.
In this journey, so because this happened over 6 years, right? Over 6 years, what are things that grew and expanded? Like from, think about your first date to like this place in your life now.
Yeah. I felt like, it did take a long way to chip away those performative elements, even though like he had taken me into the space where I could be a sub. It was still like really trying to fight through the chatter in my mind. Like the idea that you have to perform. Am I making noises? As he's folding me up in two, do I still look sexy? like
we all feel that.
Yes. Yeah, and I think near the end, there was a lot. There was fewer. We were doing less BDSM, and that was fine. But it was like we had come to this space where like he really knew my body and knew how to make me react, and would spend an entire hour doing all these different scenes, making me come in different ways, in different positions. Was always happy to do what I asked, but like the orgasms I started to have became like profound and existential, and I felt like it was really incredible. It was really incredible. It almost having those play sessions with him, it felt like it became spiritual. Like I had a whole routine of getting ready before, and like shaving myself and perfuming myself and putting on my best lotion and getting in that space, like almost like the way people would prepare for church, like just very mindfully and very thoughtfully. Because really, man, accessing that space with him, it felt like heaven, like in a way that was, I can't even begin to describe it. It was so incredible.
And how did it affect other areas of your life?
Okay, that was again, I talked about how the pain and learning to not fear what's coming next, just kind of being very present in the moment. That was a huge thing. It made me like more confident, because here's somebody who has seen me at my most vulnerable, and they are still there. They are still there. They still care about me. They still love me. It made me more confident at work. And then also, man, he set off amazing things in my life. Like I met really amazing sex positive, like
me.
And it put me so in touch with like my sexuality, which had been deeply buried for so long, and realize how much of a sexual being I am. And I think it made me come across as more confident. I feel like it just made me more open, and seeing how non-judgmental, like him holding this really amazing non-judgmental space, like really taught me how to hold that for myself and for others.
Before we move on, because I want to get to kind of where you're at now. But before we move on, are there any experiences in particular, or things about this journey into subspace, into becoming a sub, rather, that you would really like to share and let listeners know about, who are curious, who, think maybe, I think there are a lot of people who are like, I want to I want to be dominated, but they don't know what that all really means.
Sure. I think the one thing you'll probably see as you look online, look out for the fake doms, the people who are asking, like, you should call me daddy right away, and you need to do this right away before, like, any sort of trust is established. I think that's really important for people to understand. And I think it's important to do some of the reading, do the work, educate yourself. I'm so grateful I had that foundation. Because like I had this educational foundation on which to build what was happening next instead of somebody else kind of driving the train on my experience. So I think that was really helpful.
Also, how much pain you take and can take does not dictate how good of a submissive you are.
It's so true. It's so true.
If anyone's trying to tell you, like, I had an experience in my relationship with someone who was more dominant than me, where the pain dynamic, the way the pain was being delivered was unpleasant to me, and I would say hello. I would be like, that's too much, and they would basically mock me for not being able to take as much, and, you know, make comments like kind of cutting me down, like about, like, I was kind of a wuss, and that should be a red flag for you.
Yes.
That should be a red flag for you. You don't have to be someone that can go from 0 to 100. Yeah. Like if someone just starts wailing on you and they may tell you that your ability or inability to withstand that dictates how good of a submissive you are, that should be a red flag to you. This is someone like a good dom, someone who cares about you, first of all, is someone who wants to bring you into the pain and pleasure dynamic in a way that creates an ecstasy for you.
Yeah.
They don't want to like traumatize you and hurt you. And you don't have to be able to take as much pain. I don't feel like I'm any less of, when I am submissive, a sub than Carrie, because I don't want as much pain as she does. You know, it's all about what your body enjoys and reacts to. Mm-hmm. So watch for red flags.
Watch for red flags.
And it can be hard because I would say this, when you say that the bond with someone who you've had that experience with is so strong, when you've allowed someone to make you that vulnerable, restraining and you know, bringing about this pain pleasure dynamic, it can be really hard to say to them, I'm not enjoying that.
Yeah.
Like this, I'm not enjoying this. But it's super important for you, for your dom, to make you feel safe doing that. And to be able to take your feedback. And it sounds like he did that. He was very much that way. Yeah. Like you should be able to give good feedback.
Yeah. And a good dom will look for you to speak up to for yourself. Like will encourage it. Be like even with my partner, he'd be like, what kind of ice cream do you want? And I'd show some indecisiveness because I'm a lifelong people pleaser. And he'd be like, if you don't pick this ice cream out, I'm going to pull down your pants right here. And everybody in the store is going to come spank you.
And you're like, I'm not picking anything.
So yeah.
Yeah, and also there are different types of being submissive, right? Were you into humiliation? So there's pain and pleasure. So that's one thing I just want to get to really fold into this. This is about her journey. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are in no way going to be able to touch every kind of dom sub dynamic. There are so many different.
I am a sliver of the pie. Sliver. Yeah.
Right. And it sounds like your primary submissive type was restraint, impact. I remember a little electrostimulation. I may have been there for that. What?
Yeah, that was great.
That was my first experience with it. I was like, what the fuck? And now I'm like, what the fuck? What about humiliation?
Ooh, I tried humiliation, but it's just something that doesn't resonate for me. It didn't feel good. Like somebody tried slapping me and I was like, oh, like there was just something that it felt too disrespectful in a way to me. And when I get into my subspace, I feel very like goddess. And to be slapped or like spit on, I was like, that's taken me right out of my goddess space.
Yes.
But you know what? Some people want to be sub goddess, and some people want to be dirty sub slut. And you know what? Whatever makes you feel good and feel safe, and just as long as you're feeling like respected and heard, that's really important.
All right. So today, you are single today. Have you dipped your toe into being a dominant at all? Have you tried that role? Have you tried that? Have we talked about that?
I have, like with a woman I was dating, I kind of co-topped her with her male partner, and I really did enjoy that. It wasn't necessarily like super sexual or a turn on for me, but it was like really nice to provide that for my partner and kind of like wield some of that like pleasure and power.
Trying to picture that. I can kind of picture it though. I don't know. You've like since I've known you, you've gained this kind of attitude. You got a little bit of a
bit. Yeah.
Do you find it hard to find people to top you now? Are you looking for it? Where are you at now in your own journey?
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to find that. I feel like the bar was set pretty high, and trying to find somebody who like just can provide that same level. It's been a challenge. I'm going to be honest with you, but man, I've carried so much of that pleasure. I'm so grateful for that pleasure, and I'm carrying so much of that forward in my experiences, and even as I masturbate and touch myself and trying to find that beautiful space again. Like it won't be exact. I'm coming close. Coming.
I got that.
So, yeah, kind of that's where I'm at. I mean, it would be nice to find, but we'll see.
Right. It's a journey.
It's a journey. And you know what? I'll probably never find that same thing again.
But you could find something just as good or better, but different.
Yeah.
Different. That's kind of the way it is. What are some things right now that you're like, oh, I kind of want to try that? Do you have anything on the horizon that you're like, I'd like to try this thing. I'd like to take myself, now that you're, you went from literally vanilla to, I mean, again, folks, I was in the room with them, so I know what that, and can I just get my perspective really quick on my experience? Because I've never told this story in depth, and I don't even know if I can remember it in detail, because it was more than once. It was a couple times, right?
Yes.
See, that's where it because it's a lot when you are in these intense sexual situations. It's a lot. It gets all blurred in your head in like the best of ways. And I only had really good experiences there. But I was really into Miss Carrie over here. That was my main. Was that an interesting dynamic for you? I've never even asked her these questions. Here you go. You get to be here for it for the first time, folks. Was that different for you to have a woman that was there that you knew was primarily there for you?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And I think I'm somebody who doesn't really like to be perceived. So that's like sometimes why BDSM was hard, because all the focus was on me. And that's why sometimes the impact like helped me not focus on the idea, like it's just me. So it was an interesting dynamic, and I was almost grateful for somebody else to take, because it would be a really sexy scene, and I loved sitting there and kind of like watching the two of you do things, and it was really pleasurable for me, but very interesting and different.
Right. Well, I know that you did express at the time it was nice to know that I was into you, and there was no like jealousy that was going to come.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Of like me being like, oh, but I'm into this guy and you're with him. Like, so all of that was removed. And from my end, it was like what was happening was like, oh, to make you feel good. Like I knew he was going to be fine.
He was going to be fine.
He was going to be fine.
Yeah. I think I really appreciated that dynamic, because I've had the experiences where women, they were more interested in him, and then at points would ask him to be exclusive, and he was like, that's not on the table for me. So
right.
And then even though I thought I was kind of maybe building a friendship with these women sometimes, and that would end.
Right.
So it was like a whole new thing to navigate.
I was unique, folks. I was unique.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself, at least. All right. So now moving on from the end of this relationship, where you are now, you have all of this experience. You've really found yourself as a submissive, which is interesting to me because even in my own journey of knowing you, I feel like your outside of the bedroom persona has evolved so much. Like you are so much more decisive and assertive and, yeah, I would say dominant. Yeah, it is true. You're more dominant now in your everyday life than when I met you.
Yeah. And I think it was really kind of being in that subspace because you are really in control of something really important to you, your pleasure. And you're the one actually at the end of the day calling the shots. You get to say yes or no to it. And God, yeah, it changed my brain.
Right. And I think you're just so open to experiences too. Like sometimes we spend a lot of time, Carrie and I, talking about the things we're going through now, and how we perceive them. And I would say like having gone through what you have, and I have never gone through that sort of awakening, not in that short a period of time, not that profound, not with that intensity for certain. And I think for you, it really opened up your just ability to perceive things from a little bit more of a I want to say non-emotional place, but that's not true. A place of compassion and kind of coming outside of everything and looking down at it.
Yeah. Where
I get like caught up in the weeds of being in it.
Sure.
We talk about that a lot. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not that big of a person, man. I can't do that. But so from where you are now with all of this growth and all of this perspective, what are some things you're like, I want to try this or that. Here's maybe the next path I'll take. Do you have any of that mapped out? Ooh. What are you open to?
I still feel open to so many things that I still haven't tried, since the menu of things you can do sex wise and even within BDSM, it's so long. Like we sometimes played with shibari, and that was incredible. And I went to somebody who does shibari professionally and did a photo shoot and was suspended and bound, and how safe that felt. And God, it would be so incredible to be suspended and also have some like pleasure going on too. Like
you and I should go to a class.
Yeah, we should.
That'd be fun.
That would be so fun.
You know what I know Carrie is open to, folks? Sharing toys with me. And lucky you can be part of our experience because she is joining me on Two Girls Sharing Toys. If you have not checked out my sex toy reviews, you should do that now. Hopefully, maybe not. But by the time this is published, which is happening really soon because we are in Kingtober, we will have put together some Two Girls Sharing Toys, sex toys reviews. And I have some that I've launched already with my beautiful friend Andy. But Carrie and I have been sharing toys, and we have 3 that we're getting ready to review for you, and we will be launching. So I know that she definitely is ready for that, and I want you guys to check those out, see what toys we are going to be looking into. Who knows, maybe since you might be my kinkiest girlfriend. I don't know, my other girlfriend, the minute anyone hears this, I'll get like the phone calls like, I'm kinky as fuck, Annette, what do you mean? But I don't know, you may be at the next level there.
That's funny to hear you say, like, from where I was 6 years ago to like you have your own podcast, and here you are telling me.
You're right. So my journey has been quite, I guess I'm totally different than when I'm in a way different place.
You're so different.
God, we both have way better hair than we did. Our hair,
incredible.
When I think about what our hair looked like, do you remember our haircuts?
About shorter.
Well, whatever. We thought we were cute. We thought we were cute. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we'll be able to get some kinky sex toy products to try out, separately, maybe, you never know, and review for you. Yeah. So stay tuned to that. Thank you for sharing. There's so much to this story. And guys, this was just an overview and like sort of dipping the toe into the water of what it means to be submissive. And I don't know why I haven't done a lot of content on it. Maybe because I don't personally, I have submissive goals. I have a submissive side to me that I enjoy. I find it really hard to find partners though, who feel comfortable dominating me. I don't understand why though.
Yeah.
No, just joking. And I do like being dominant a lot, especially with women. I think that's more natural for me. Even I'm short, but I'm mighty, right?
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Can confirm.
But I want to dive more into it, and actually even for myself, because I would love to explore my own submissive side a little bit more. I just have no idea how to do that. So hopefully Carrie will join me more, and maybe we can start drilling down into the submissive experience. So seriously, if you have questions about the submissive experience, anything, something you want to know more about, questions for Carrie, please email me at Annette@talksexwithannette.com, or if you are on my YouTube channel, which is at talksexwithannette, you can drop a message or into the comments section. I will bring her back on. We'll go through your questions together and answer them. We could totally do that. That would be super fun.
I'd love to.
You can scroll down, and I've got my speak pipe. You can send us a voice message. We'd even play it right here and then answer it on our video. That would be super fun for us, because I do want to answer your questions. I know that people have a lot of questions about what it means to be submissive, and I don't fucking know. She does.
And I know, just what I know is like one part of an entire iceberg. So.
But we also have a community that we can reach out to.
A great community. Great community.
And there are subs out there.
So many.
Yeah. So we did it.
We did it.
It's been a long time in the coming. Threesomes happened. Lots of things happened.
Years passed.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Until next time, folks, I'll see you in the locker room. Cheers.